Hi there BookTube, it's Helena here, and today I'm going to be talking about the longest books on my shelf. So this is totally inspired by my lovely friend Kaitlin at Kitty G. I'll link her video down below. She recently looked through her shelves and looked for her top 10 longest books that are on her TBR. And I was like, I wonder if mine are any as long as that, because Kaitlin reads a lot of science fiction and fantasy, and I think that sort of lends itself to bigger books. And I was like, oh, I bet I haven't got many books that big on my shelf, and I just wanted to have a look. So I said to Kaitlin, I think I might do it too and see, and she said, yeah, that sounds good. So anyway, I'm here today to talk about my top 10 books, which aren't quite as many as long as Kaitlin's, but I have got one that's pretty big. So the first one is my longest, and that is The Great Book of Amber, The Complete Amber Chronicles 1 to 10. So it is sort of 10 books in one, but it is the Chronicles, and this is 1,258 whopping pages long. So apparently this book is about the titanic battle for supremacy waged on Earth in the courts of chaos and on a magical world of mystery, adventure and romance. So this is the whole of the Amber Chronicles, as I say, books 1 to 10 in a bind up. So I am looking forward to getting to this. I've heard some good things. It's fantasy, so yeah, I'm hoping to try this out at some point and see what I think, but it's just so big. My second largest book on my shelf is 877 pages, and that is Under the Dome by Stephen King. I started watching the TV series of this when it was on, and I don't think I ended up watching all of it, or all of it didn't come out. Maybe they only had a few, or a pilot series or something, but I only watched sort of maybe 3 or 4 episodes, and it really piqued my interest, and I would really like to get to this at some point. I don't really read Stephen King because horror is not my thing. It's too scary for me, but this sounds like it's more science fiction and less horrific in terms of sort of horror. So I'm hoping. What I know about this, it's about a town, and then all of a sudden one day this dome like ends up over the town, and nobody knows where it's come from. You can't get through it, under it, and it's about what happens to the people inside the town and things they have to do to survive, and to try and uncover what it is that has caused this dome to appear around them, and what's happening on the outside as well. So I'm intrigued to pick this up at some point, but again, it's a bit of a whopper. Next is a book that has 808 pages, and when I first bought it, I didn't realise that it is, I think it's the 6th book in a series, but I'm not sure. I think all of these books can be read separately, but when I know it's part of sort of a set of books that go together, I like to start from the beginning, so I probably won't read this one first. But it's called This Is All, the Pillow Book of Cordelia Ken, and I love the cover of this one. So this one says Cordelia is 19 and pregnant with her baby daughter. She passionately needs to write, and choosing the old and famous Japanese pillow book as her model, she compiles the story of her teenage years. What emerges is an honest and challenging portrait of the unusual relationships within her family, of her love for William Blacklin, of her affair with an older man, her terrifying experience with a man who was obsessed with her, and of her friendship with her teacher Julie. Her thoughts range wildly on poetry and breasts, periods and music, friendship trees, consciousness and sleep, sex and laughter. A wonderfully evocative and gripping story of an extraordinary girl who in turn maddens and fascinates and finally seduces the reader. And this is apparently the final book in a sequence of 6 novels of sort of teenage love and self-discovery. So I'm definitely going to be looking out for the rest of these, and then when I've got the first one I will start, but I definitely think I would like to pick up the first one first. Next up, with 805 pages as a bind up of books 1 and 2 in IQ 84 by Haruki Murakami. I have read a couple of Murakami books in my time and not really enjoyed them. I didn't think they were for me, but this one definitely sounded a little bit out of his comfort zone in terms of what he normally writes, and perhaps not in his writing style, but in his subject it sounded much more interesting to me personally. It's set in a world with 2 moons, and that's all I know, and I'm going to go into this one pretty blind. Next up, with 747 pages, is historical fiction Helena of Troy by Margaret George. I don't know anything about Margaret George as a writer. All I know is what I can read on the back, which tells me that she's an historical fiction writer. I don't know much about the Trojan War, but I'm interested. I picked this up a long time ago, I mean years ago, And it's about time I read it, so I will at some point, but that's this one. Next, with 739 pages, I have Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie. I don't know anything about this, so I'm intrigued. It's a start of a fantasy series. I haven't read Joe Abercrombie yet, although I do own quite a few of his books, so I really must rectify that. But I'm looking forward to trying it at some point when I can get over the size. Next up, with 719 pages, I have Cider House Rules by John Irving. This is the only John Irving I think I own, and the only one that really has appealed to me. It's about an orphan and his apprenticeship in the orphanage surgery and his relationship with the doctor. I don't know much about this, but I'm really interested to read it. I think I may have watched the film years ago, but for the life of me I can't remember much about it, so I would definitely read the book and then watch the film again, I think, at some point. Next, with 671 pages, I have Mage's Blood by David Hare, and this is one that I keep meaning to pick up because I've been hearing wonderful things about it. It's about two civilizations, I believe, that are clashing, and every every 12 years this bridge rises between the two places and they go to war, and I don't know much more than that, so I think it's epic fantasy, so I think we're bound to follow like a number of characters, so I'm intrigued, and I know that Kaitlin really loves this one, so I'm hoping to enjoy it too. Next, with 649 pages, is Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. So as far as I can gather, this is a book about two men, a mercenary and a thief, who are sort of thieves and mercenaries for hire, and they get pinned on them that they were meant to have killed the king, and they used as scapegoats, and they obviously didn't do it, and so I'm assuming set out on a quest to discover who has. So I'm looking forward to trying this. I've never read any Michael J. Sullivan before. And then finally, number 10 with 652 pages is Brandon Sanderson's Warbreaker. I enjoy Brandon Sanderson. I really enjoyed the Steel Heart books, and Mistborn for me was a bit nah. I really enjoyed The Way of Kings, although it was mahoosive. So I'm really excited about this one. I'm assuming this will have a really interesting magic system, as most of his books do. From what I can gather on the back, it's about two sisters who are princesses and a god king that one of them has to marry. I'm hoping that I'll enjoy this. It sounds interesting. I like the fact it's got two female protagonists, and I think a lot of people really enjoy this. I think it's a standalone, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a standalone, so I'm really looking forward to getting to this. But again, all of these books are so big that I think sometimes I get a little bit put off, so I'm going to have to bite the bullet at some point and just get to some of those bigger books, and I definitely think 2017 is going to be a year for getting to some of those books and getting stuck in. Anyway, let me know if you've read any of these, which ones aren't as daunting as possibly they look, and let me know what's the biggest book that's on your TBR shelf. Okay, that's it from me. Bye for now, BookTube.